All right, well, welcome students. This is our Zoom session predominantly focused on the individual presentation assignment as well as the do's and don'ts of business presentations, which kind of covers two of your predominant large assignments coming up. Just to give you a little explanation, I know that a lot of people get confused on when are these items due, and that's because I constantly am moving the due date until it's actually due, mostly because I don't want students to neglect it. So for instance, this is due, I believe, on the 14th of September, both of these assignments. And so I put the due date as 8/31 last week. I put the due date as 9/7 this week. And then on the third week, it'll be 9/14. However, in the assignment explanation, I do tell you when it is due. And the only reason I put the most recent week as the due date is that way students don't wait till the last week and then go, hey, I need to do this assignment. So I want them to know that it's something they should be working on. And so I give the most recent week's due date, and then I keep moving it back until it's finally due. So in this case, they're both due on the 14th of September, and we'll be going over that in a minute. But my point is that's why I move the due dates in case anybody wonders. I get a lot of confusion, or I get a lot of emails like, should I submit something? And no, you don't need to submit anything on the individual presentation until the last week. However, the discussion post, you should be kind of working on it every week, and that's the way the two assignments are designed. So we're going to cover both of those in this Zoom session. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here. Let me see if I have it up on this screen. It might be easier just for me to do it on here. So hold on a second. I'm going to move to our class on this computer. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing that. Start sharing this. So here we are. Should be seeing our home screen on our class in Canvas. And this assignment, as I mentioned in my videos, if you watched any of them so far, is that the first module is focused on basic business communications and then giving presentations. And then the second module is business writing. And then the third module is employment communications. So module number one, I'm going to go ahead and select that. We're going to go in and look at the assignment. And the reason I do this video is I just want to give you a chance to ask questions and really to clearly explain what I'm looking for in this presentation. I've recorded a Zoom session before, but I like to do a new one every semester just to make it more personable and have a point of connection with the students. So again, as it says there, you have 3 weeks to complete the assignment, and it's not due until 9/14, as you can see right here. So watch the Zoom session where I explain it. So this is for people who are coming in after the Zoom session. But what you're going to do is you're preparing a 5-minute PowerPoint presentation detailing your 4 most significant life events. The reason I select that topic is it's not difficult for you to come up with those 4 events. If I asked you to do a research report or to speak on a certain topic or business, you'd have to do some research. This you really don't. You just need to sit down with a piece of paper and make a list of all your significant events in life, and then pick the 4 that are most significant to you at the moment. Then you're going to prepare a 5-minute PowerPoint presentation. Now, I'm not grading you on the content. That's your story. It also gives you an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself to other students. But I do grade you on how well you present and how you utilize presentation software, how you use PowerPoint. And there's some guidelines and rules for both of those, and that's what we're going to kind of cover in this Zoom session. Not only the assignment, but kind of the do's and don'ts of giving a business presentation. So last week, you should have already come up with your 4 life events. And then this week, you're going to begin building your PowerPoint slides. So week 2, which we're starting this week, or we're in right now, is you're going to be building your slides. So you definitely need a title slide. And this is just where you're introducing yourself in the sense of, who wrote this, who did this assignment, and what is the assignment, and what class is it, etc. And I'll show you that in my presentation as a sample. Then you're going to need a navigation slide. Navigation slide is kind of a slide that gives your 4 points right off the bat. It's telling your audience what you're going to be talking about in this presentation, and that's true of any business presentation you give. Any presentation, you should always have some form of telling them what you're going to tell them. And in fact, if you read the chapter already, chapter 12 of the book. It has a great slide, a great little illustration. It says, tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you've told them. And that's really a great outline to use when presenting. And that is in your introduction, tell them what you're going to tell them, and that can be accomplished with a navigation slide. Here are the 5 things we're going to be talking about today, and you lay them out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the body of your message or body of your presentation is telling them. So, okay, now I'm going to talk about all 5 of those points, or in our case, all 4 of those events, one at a time, right? That's the body. I'm telling you what I'm going to tell you. And then lastly, tell them what you've told them, and that's your conclusion slide. Tell them what you've told them. Recap your 4 main points, or recap the 6 things that you talked about. And that's kind of a great outline to follow when putting together a presentation. Tell them what you're going to tell them in the introduction, tell them in the body, and then tell them what you told them in the conclusion. And so that's navigation slide, is telling them what you're going to tell them. And then as it mentions here, you should have a slide for each of the 4 events and a conclusion slide. So your conclusion slide ideally could recap the 4 points, but then again, we're talking 5 minutes, very, very limited amount of time. So you may not have time to actually go back and recap your points, but it's up to you. If anything, you should have some form of a conclusion slide, even if you just list the 4 points again real quickly, and then you say, does anybody have any questions? Or maybe a lot of students like to put a quote, maybe their life quote or life statement, and that becomes their conclusion slide. Or maybe something that they mentioned throughout the presentation, they want to bring it back up at the end. That works too. Also, you should have the following, and that is a navigation slide, as I already mentioned. You should use bullet points on your slides. Now, you can use pictures too, and I encourage pictures, but not too many. But you should have bullet points, and then you should build your slides. And I'll show you that in a little bit, but that basically means that you don't put everything on your slide up at once. You set it up to where every time you hit your clicker or every time you hit the space bar, it puts another piece of your slide on the screen. And that allows your audience to track with you as you're speaking. If you put everything up, then everybody's reading everything you put up and they're not really listening to what you're saying. But if you put one thing up at a time and you talk about it, now they're tracking with you. And if they get lost or get distracted, then you go to the next thing, they're brought back in. So each time you bring something new onto the screen, they're brought back into your speech or your talk, and that helps them to track with you a little better. So that's what we call builds. Then you want to have pictures, but not too many. Like I said, presentation software and giving a presentation, using it is a visual medium. So you want to use that wisely and make it very visually appealing. So pictures, graphics, the way you lay out your slides, all of that is extremely important in giving a professional business presentation. You also want to utilize transitions. These are where you're going from one slide to the next, that some of them just go from one to the next and appear. Some of them like to blind in, or some like to swoosh in. Some like to fold up like a bird and fly away. Some like to have curtains that go like this. Some of those are not quite the most professional, so I would encourage you to stick with more of the basics when you're doing transitions, but I'll show you that in my slideshow in a minute. And you should definitely utilize some transitions, but not too many. They do make your presentation a little more creative, but not distracting is the main thing. You also want to use the correct font size. So on your presentations, you want to make sure that you're using around a 30 font. Anything smaller becomes difficult for people in the back to read, so make sure they can read that, and that it's large enough. And usually 28 you might be able to get away with. And then you want to follow the 6x6 rule, and this is a very important principle for presentations. Is if you do use bullet points, you never want to use paragraphs of text on your slides. You want to use 6 bullet points maximum, with roughly 6 words in each bullet point line. That's it. You don't want paragraphs, you don't want sentences, you just want 6x6. So this is a rule, so follow, that your audience will appreciate. If you put your notes in a bullet point and you have a paragraph, what your audience is going to do is read it. And even worse, you might be tempted to read it, and that's no presentation. Reading your slides is not a presentation. Presentation is speaking to your audience, and your slides are a supplement to what you're saying. So follow the 6x6 rule. That'll be something that you will be graded on in your presentations, and also be something that you will definitely want to include in your list of do's and don'ts. So that's this week, all I've just talked about. You should be doing this week in preparing your presentation. And then next week, you're going to record your presentation. And the best way to do that is in PowerPoint. They have a feature where they can record with a little video of you in the corner. And you can actually go through your slides. You can build them. You can do everything, all the transitions with a little video of you in the corner and record everything you're saying. And that becomes the easiest way to record it. Now, worst case scenario, you don't have a camera that works good or whatever it might be, and sometimes students don't, it's not working, and maybe the version of the PowerPoint doesn't offer that feature. Worst case scenario, you can set your computer screen behind you, you can stand in front of your phone, you can set your phone on the wall or on the desk, and you can record yourself with your screen next to you giving your presentation. That's acceptable to me. I just want to see you, and I want to see your slides in the same video and hear your voice. So those are the three things. And I'll show you how to record your presentation. There's also some instructions here on online, but I'll show you how to do it in when I show you my presentation. And then regardless of what format you use or because you don't have to use PowerPoint, you can use Prezi, you can use Keynote, you can use Google Slides, but just keep in mind those other softwares don't necessarily have all the same features that PowerPoint does. They may not allow you to build very effectively. They may not allow you to, to transition effectively, etc. But they should do most everything else. So keep that in mind. You might not be able to use builds if you do that. And I think builds are very important in a presentation. And then you'll save your presentation. When you go to exit PowerPoint, if you do it in PowerPoint, it'll give you the opportunity to save your presentation, and that's what you will upload to me, or you can upload it to PowerPoint, YouTube or Vimeo or one of those other places, and then you can just copy the link into the assignment. Either one works for me. Actually, it's a little easier when students do that. So, all right, so that's pretty much the assignment. The guidelines are that you must strictly be 4 minutes and 30 seconds to 5 minutes. If you go over 5 minutes, I start marking points off. If you go shorter than 4 minutes and 30 seconds, I start marking points off. And that's because if your boss or supervisor asks you to give a 5-minute presentation, the best thing you can do is give them a 5-minute presentation. Shorter is better. That's why I'll give you 30 minutes or 30 seconds to get it right, but you can do 4 minutes and 30 is probably ideal. 5 minutes is ideal. Anything in between is ideal, but anything before that or over that is not. So please keep that in mind. You'll be graded on the quality of your slides, so their appearance, how readable they were, how professional they were, whether or not you used 6x6 rule, whether or not you used builds, all that. That's what you'll be graded on. And you'll be graded on how well you present. So did you read? I can tell when you're reading. You can have your notes down here and be reading, and I can tell. So you should be looking at the camera, and you should be presenting. And we'll talk about how, what we call extemporaneously in a moment. But so how well you present, and whether or not you're staying on track, and whether or not you're rambling, and most importantly, whether or not you go really long because you get off on rabbit trails. So keeping it to the point and clearly presenting is what you'll be graded on the presentation side. And then again, you don't have to upload this recording until a week from Sunday, so September 14th. All right, I do give you a sample here of my PowerPoint. You're certainly welcome to download it and view it there. I'm going to show it to you right now in PowerPoint. But here's the grading rubric I use. So you get basically graded on how you present, and then you get graded on your presentation itself as far as using the slides, and then your time right here could deduct from that, as well as whether or not you commented on other students. So part of the assignment is you're supposed to view other students' presentations and that you comment on their presentations. And if you do, then you don't lose any points. If you don't, you lose points. So anyway, this is the rubric. You can check that out. Any questions so far? So that is the assignment. Let me go ahead and show you then my presentation. And I hope I didn't close it because I had it opened earlier, but I should be able to open it up again. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. Let's go to PowerPoint. There we go. Oh, yeah, I think that works. All right, let me go back and share my screen again. All right, so you should be seeing my PowerPoints now. I'm going to go ahead and start the show. Hopefully it won't play because I was recording it earlier. All right, I think I didn't save it. So here's my title slide, and I'll just show you. So I clicked my button, and that came up, and I clicked it again, and that came up. So I'd say, I'm not going to give my presentation, I'm just going to show you my slides, but I'll talk about it. So hi, everybody. My name is Eric Doucette. I'm giving my assignment, the 4 significant life events in no particular order for business communications class here at Norco College, fall 2025. My 4 significant events are as followed. Number 1, getting hitched. Number 2, touring the world. Number 3, on mission. And number 4, down by the river. So let's look at each of these together. First is getting hitched. And of course, this is me getting married and having family. They are very significant events to me. Here's a picture of my wife and I when we got married back in 1986. Here's a more recent picture of us. I had a son in 1990 named Andrew, and I had a daughter in 1995 named Miranda. There's a picture of us about 10, 12 years ago. In 2018, we had our first wedding, so my daughter got married, and I officiated that wedding. And then in 2021, we had our second wedding, and my son got married. And in October 2021, we had my first granddaughter, and then January 2025, I had my second granddaughter, both by my daughter. So there's the first one. And there she is a little older. She's going to be 4 coming up here in October. And she is the joy of my life. And there's the newest one. She was born in January. Second area of significance is touring the world. So I was involved in a 80s heavy metal rock band back in the day. And I loved heavy metal music and hair band metal. So we used to poof our hair way up. Here's a picture of our band back in the day. Our band's name was Spectra. I was the drummer. I'm the guy second from the left. And we're kind of like a glam Christian rock band. We played all around LA and all the little clubs and the little churches that were out there, little mission outreaches and stuff like that. I said hairspray was our friend because we used to take our hair and spray it up, and it would just be like a big bouffant hairdo. We performed around LA, like I mentioned. And 30 years later, KLOS, somebody was listening to KLOS and they were talking about the 80s rock scene, and they brought our band up, and we were like, they were mocking us, granted, they were making fun of us and all the weird things we did, but they remembered us. So we thought, hey, that's worth something, right? 30 years later to be remembered. But it was a lot of fun. But we were a Christian band, and that kind of leads to the next thing is I was an associate pastor at Harvest. I served there for 10 plus years, and then they raised me up and they trained me up and they ordained me, and I served there for quite a while. It's a big mega church. I also was a director for the Harvest events that happen at Anaheim Stadium. I did that for probably 6 of those years. I was traveling all over the country, putting them together in cities around the country. Hawaii, which was a lot of fun, and Santa Barbara and Maui and back east. And so we did those. And then I was a lead pastor at our church. So I left Harvest in 2004, sorry, and started a church in another city. And I also went back to college and got my master's in business. So I was a pastor with an MBA, but I started teaching, and then I became a full-time instructor at Norco College a couple of years back. And the last one's Down by the River. This is the most significant of all the events of my life. I don't know if you ever saw that movie Brother, Where Art Thou with George Clooney, but there's a scene in it where Delmer, one of the co-conspirators in breaking out of jail, trying to find the treasure, sees a baptism happening down by the river, decides to go down and get baptized, and comes out of the water and says, I'm done with my old ways. I'm going to be living the new man. And the whole movie from there on out is him struggling to kind of live in the new man. And it kind of reminds me of my story, raised in a very religious home my entire life. But I still live by the motto of the 80s, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. As long as I wasn't doing all 3 in any one weekend, I was good with the man upstairs. But I was pretty empty and unfulfilled and realized that there must be something more, and found that there was in the person of Jesus Christ. So I gave my life to the Lord and began following him and serving him. And that's why I got involved in ministry and serving and all those kinds of things. So that's my quick story. Does anybody have any questions? Now, I didn't recap at the end, but I could have went back over my 4 events. That would have been probably a more appropriate way to end it. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for. I will say there's a few things wrong with my presentation, but I did use builds on all my slides, and I did use a navigation slide. Those are 2 key things. I did follow the 6x6 rule on all my slides. My probably only negative is I had too many pictures, but I figured that's okay because I'm a proud grandpa, right? So I'm allowed to have that, and you are too if you have kids. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I had a title slide, and then I had the navigation slide, and then I had one slide for my first significant life event, my second significant life event, my third significant life event, my fourth, and then I had a conclusion slide, which in this case was just any questions. Now, again, I don't care about the content of your message, although it is interesting to watch and hear your stories. And, there's religious stuff, there's, travel, there's family issues, there's getting married, there's having kids, all the things. I mean, I shared a few of those. Those are all the kinds of things that most students share, or their passion. Maybe they're really into cars or really into football or sports or whatever it is. So those become kind of the makeup of their significant events. But again, what I'm focusing more on is your presentation skills as well as how you prepared your PowerPoint slides. And so to show you a few things real quick, I'm going to go back to my navigation slide, and you should be able to see that on the screen. And I'm going to show you how I did a few of these things. So if you look at PowerPoint, you have this toolbar at the top up here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to build your slides and how to create all that. So what you need to do on every one of your slides is you build the slide entirely, like you put all the pictures on it. In this case, I used text boxes for all of these. So all I did to do that was I went up to insert at the top. I did text box right here. I select text box, you come down, you put a text box on your page and you type in what you want it to say, hitched. Right, once I did that 4 times, I moved those to where I wanted them. In this case, right here, right there, whatever. And then I also downloaded all these little pictures from YouTube. I just went to YouTube images and I put in Hitched, and I like that. I put in Touring the World or Rock Band, etc. And I copied all those and I basically downloaded them from Google Images. And then I went up here to insert picture. So you can select picture. It'll ask you, it's not doing it. Why is it not? Oh, it's on my slide. You can't see it, but it'll pop down menu. It'll say photo browser, picture from file. So because I downloaded, I'm gonna select picture from file, and that's gonna lead me to where I can navigate to where the pictures are, select the picture, press insert, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, it'll show up. It might be like this when it shows up, then you just size it down to the size that you want to where they're all the same. So I just did that. And you can see the little dimensions that are there. So I can continue to size it down. And it kind of helps you a little bit. Anyway, so I just did that for all 4 of the pictures. And then I moved them where I want them. So now the slide is built. So I did all that for all 4 of them. Now I want to animate the slide. And so all I do to do that is I select what I want to animate in the order that I want to animate it. So in this case, I'm going to select, because I want them to come up together, I'm going to select both of these by clicking one and then holding the shift key and then clicking the other. And then I can come up here to animations. So click animations, and I have all these options of how I want to animate. Bunch of different ones. So I can do that one. By the way, I reanimated it because they're already all animated, as you can see. So what I'll do is I'll open instead the animation pane. If you look up here, it'll actually open a box, shows me the order in which all of my items are going to appear. Now, how do they appear? I just hit the space bar, or I hit the arrow bar, or I hit the clicker. If I have a clicker, that's how they each appear. But just for fun, just to show, I'm going to go ahead and delete all of them. So I'm going to delete all of them. So now nothing's animated. Now I'm square one again. So I'm going to select hitched. I'm going to select shift, and then I'm going to select hitched again. And I'm going to do appear for that one. Notice how a number 1 comes up here, and number 1 is added to my animation pane. So that's showing you that it's now ready to be animated. I'm going to select touring, and the picture below that, I'm going to do checkerboard for that one. Let me go over here. Now I'm going to go to the third one. And again, number 2 popped up. It popped up in my animation pane. I went ahead and selected the third one. And that one, I think I'm going to do something really fancy for the fun of it. We'll do that one. And then I'm going to select the last one. And by the way, you should only really use 1 or 2 transitions. Don't use 4 different ones, but I'm just showing you that you could do other ones. So, all right, so now I have all of them animated. If I want to play it back, I can, but it's going to play it really fast. But if I click this little arrow, it'll play it back. You didn't even see it. It went by so fast. Or better yet, I can come down here and I can start the show right where I'm at. I got ants all over my desk. They're getting on me. So I'll go ahead and show you, where's my, let's see, let's go. Okay, now I'm gonna click the space bar. So there's Hitched, there's Touring, there's On Mission, there's By the River. So they all came up. As I clicked the space bar, they all came up. So I animated that slide. As far as builds go, building your slides. So let me go, that's basically building it. You do the same thing, but in this case, when you have a bullet list, what you're gonna do is you're gonna want to select the line in the bullet list like this, and then you go up to animations and you select what you want it to do. So same exact thing, you just do it one item at a time. So again, build your whole slide with all your bullet points, all your pictures, and then come back and animate it. And you can again see I have an animation pane here that puts it in the order that I want it to show. So, and you can move it around. I might say, yeah, I want this picture to come before that picture. So now I just moved 2 of the pictures around by doing that. So, all right, does that make sense? Any questions about animating your slides and building your slides? Those are very important things to do. All right, well, let me talk lastly about recording your presentation. That'll be fun. So, all right, so I'm going to close out of here. In order to record your presentation, then you're going to want to come up to, well, mine has record. Yours might only have slideshow, but I'm going to click record. So let's see, here we go, click record. And then it should open, let's see. Oh, sorry. And then it says, actually go to slideshow. Sorry, not record on mine, slideshow, and then record right here. See that? Click record. And then you'll notice it opens a whole new looking page. And if you look at the very top of that page, you have a little dial with numbers that's going to count off as you're recording your presentation so that you know how long it is. And then next to that is a trash can. If you don't like what you recorded, you can trash it and start over. If you want to pause, because maybe you can't remember something, you can pause. And then you can pick back up by unpausing. And that way so let's just say you have a distraction or you don't remember something but you don't want to re-record, just pause it, click, get where you want to be, and then click resume, and you'll be able to continue recording. This is the record button, the red button in the middle, and then notice to the right of it, there's a camera icon and there's a microphone icon. So if both of those are unchecked, then you're going to see a picture. As you see now, the round circle of me in the screen. If I click the camera here and turn it off, it's going to take away the picture. So if it's no picture, then you either don't have a camera or you don't have the camera turned on. So there it is. I'm back in the little camera there. And then it has the microphone. You want to make sure that your microphone works. So you can turn it off by clicking it. You can turn it on by unclicking it. Now, what's this one here? I don't know what that one is. Oh, teleprompter or presenter view. So if you want to use presenter view, which shows you your other slides before you give them, you can do that too. So only the slide that you're seeing on the left is the actual slide that everyone is seeing. The one on the right, so it's coming up next. I don't personally do that, but you're certainly welcome to do that. So I'm going to go to presenter view or teleprompter view. All right, so then I'm going to record my presentation. So how do I do that? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to go back to your very first slide. So I happen to be on slide 4. So I'm going to go ahead and go back. Let's see, where's that at? Maybe I'll exit here for a second. I'm going to exit that view. I'm going to go all the way to my first slide. Then I'm going to go back to slideshow, back to record. All right, so now I'm going to record my presentation. I'm just going to click this button. That's going to count me down. 2, 3, 1. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Eric Doucette, and I'm going to be sharing with you today my PowerPoint presentation of the 4 most significant life events in no particular order. My first significant event, number 1, is getting hitched. Number 2 is touring the world. Number 3 is on mission for God, and number 4 is down by the river. So it's actually delaying, so I'm clicking it too many times. Anyway, it's recording me, right? So let's just say I'm all done with my presentation. I just click the record button again, and that ends my presentation. It tells you how long it is, etc. And then if I want to play it back right here, I can play it back. Down by the river. It'll start playing it. It's actually delaying, so I'm clicking it too many times. Anyway, it's recording me, right? So let's just say I'm all done. So it's just recording what was on that screen. So it tells you the overall length is the right number, and then the slide that you're working on's length is right here to the left. So anyway, I'm all done. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of there. And now you might say, well, how do I save my presentation? I believe when you exit out of PowerPoint, let's see, let me get out of PowerPoint. It didn't let me do that last time either. So here we go, PowerPoint. When I quit PowerPoint up here, you can't see it, but I clicked PowerPoint at the top of my screen, and I clicked it, and now it's asking me, do I want to save it? And I can say, yes, save it. And now it's going to ask me, where do you want to save it? So you can't see that, but anyway, so now I just saved it, and I need to go navigate to find it. And that's what I'll upload. It'll be saved, by the way, as a .pptx, and that'll be what you're looking for if you go to search for it. So, all right, you guys still with me? Any questions on that? Everybody's good? All right. Then I'm going to go over 2 more things real quick. Let's see. What did I do with that? Thought I had it open. There it is. Oops, not that one. All right, let me stop sharing here and go back to Zoom. All right, I'm going to show you 2 things real quick. One is the world's worst PowerPoint presentation. So you guys see that on your screen? So here's how it goes. I'm going to show you the slides, and you tell me what's wrong with them. Ready? Here we go. What's wrong with this slide? Anybody? Sahar, Elvira, Yasen?
Like a paragraph is like instead of
Yeah.
like bullet points.
Yeah, this is what I call a wall of text, right? They're not following the 6x6 rule, right? They're putting their notes on the screen, and you've all seen presentations just like this, where a student turns to the screen and they just read exactly what's on the screen. That's not a presentation. That is reading off the screen. So don't make your slides look like this. Second one, what's wrong with this one?
Oh, the writing is not clear. The background, it's like blended colors.
Exactly, yeah, you have very poor contrasting colors. So the ideal is either a white background with black text or a black background with white text, but certainly not color combinations that make it difficult to read, especially people that have colorblind issues. They can't see red and green, blue and yellow. They wouldn't be able to see the contrast. So keep in mind that black and white are going to be the best contrasts for your slides. I used black with black background with white text. All right, what's going on here? Too much going on here, right? That's what's wrong with this. There's stuff moving all over the slides, and some people love all that. In a business setting, you want to keep it as simple as you can, so keep it simple. 1 to 2 pictures per slide is probably enough. Too many pictures also make your document really large, which may hinder you from uploading it. All right, here's where we get into too many different transitions that people might use. So yes, it's building. That's good. Every time I click, it adds a new feature, but then you start doing this kind of stuff, it becomes a little bit much, So have 1 transition per slide, and typically all the same for all your slides. and use builds. And then finally, there's this one, maybe you have a video in your presentation, you want to play it, and then you get this. Now, this is a little more older format, but it could happen where it doesn't work or the sound doesn't work. So that's why you want to check everything out when you first get there. Test it, run through it once before you give your presentation. All right. Yeah, that's that. And then I have one more thing to cover with y'all. And that is the do's and don'ts of business presentation. So I'm basically going to do your discussion post for you here in just a second. I'm going to do a few things here to make it a little more. I'm going to make it a build. So right now it's already built. I want to unbuild it for a second so that I can build it for you as I talk. So yeah, this is basically your homework or your discussion post assignment. You're certainly welcome to use this as your final list. However, I would like you to make your own initial list first based off of what you think should be the do's and don'ts of business presentations and business presentation software. So do your own list first, view and comment on other students' lists. That's what you should be doing this week. And then next week, do a final list. But you're welcome to use this list I'm going to give you right now as your final list. And I kind of expect to see some of the more key components on this list on your list as well. So I'm almost ready. So, and also keep in mind that your presentation is two parts. It's your presenting, in other words, how you present yourself and how you speak, and then it's also how your slides look and are effective. So, all right, so you're seeing my slides now, do's and don'ts of business presentation. So let's start with the first do, and that is always be prepared. That's the best thing you can do, hands down. Be prepared, know your topic, know your subject. The more you know, the more you've internalized in your body, or in your mind, sorry, the better chance you're going to have of being successful in your presentation overall. So be prepared. Secondly, is practice. And don't be afraid to practice multiple times. I think you can also over practice. So find a good medium in there where you're not too overwhelmed and practice, practice, practice. And that'll make you feel a lot more comfortable with your presentation. Next, make sure everything works before starting, as has been mentioned a few times now. Make sure that your sound works. If you have a video, make sure you're able to transition through your slides. Sometimes when you make it in Google Slides and convert it to PowerPoint, you lose some of the animation features that we spent so much time talking about. So keep all that in mind. Make sure it's working the way you want before you present. Very, very important. Speak loud enough for people to hear in the back. So most cases when you're giving a presentation, especially in college, you're not going to have amplification. And that may be true as well in meetings. So make sure you speak loud enough for everybody to hear. Probably the biggest mistake that most students make in giving presentations that I've witnessed is they just talk too soft. They talk kind of at a conversational level as if you were sitting right next to them, but reality is people are sitting 50 feet away from you. Yes, Elvira, question.
Yeah, so for the final list, do we just go back to the initial post and just edit it, or do we have to make a whole new different like list in
Well,
the
the
discussion?
way the assignment's laid out is you make an initial list kind of your own knowledge, right? Then you view and comment other students' lists, and then you make your final list. So you're actually recreating a new list, but you can copy and paste the old list and then edit it. That's the easy way to do it.
Okay,
Does that make
thank you.
sense?
Mhm.
So each time you're making a new post by hitting reply at the bottom.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So speak loud enough for people in the back. That's a very important one, and that should be on your list for sure. Smile, make eye contact with people. That makes a lot of a difference. Don't stare at people, and certainly don't stare at your slides and read just your slides, or stare at the screen and just read the screen, or stare at your notes and just read the notes. Look at your audience as you're speaking. Gestures help. Walking around helps if you're comfortable enough to do that. Very important if you can grab the attention of your audience at the very beginning. A startling story, an interesting anecdote, maybe a quote that you really like that kind of summarizes what you're going to say. In this case, you could be like your life quote or your life statement, if that's something applicable. I did a presentation one time in a class like this on flossing your teeth. So what I did in my intros, I showed pictures of famous people with no teeth, like Obama and celebrities. It was really funny because they looked really funny without teeth. And it's like, well, this could be you if you don't floss your teeth, you know? So it really worked to grab the attention of the audience. Give the presentation extemporaneously. So again, don't memorize your presentation, don't memorize your notes, and don't read your notes. You're certainly welcome to use your notes or your slides as an outline to kind of jog your memory. You're welcome to use cue cards as well in any presentation, even business ones. Just make sure you're not just reading your cards. And I've had students do that. Speak from your memory, speak from your knowledge, fill your mind and heart with what you want to talk about, and then it'll come out. Use your personality. And that's the last one, or the next one is be conversational and professional. So you don't have to use flowery big words, you know, just be yourself. Talk how you would talk how you would to somebody sitting next to you on an airplane or somebody sitting next to you in class. And then above all, be yourself. You know, don't try and act like another speaker, just be you, and that's going to make you the most comfortable you can be. If you try and be somebody else, you're not going to be comfortable. So be yourself, let your personality show. That's going to make your presentation the best it could be. And now we get into the don'ts. Don't stare at the screen or slides. So you don't want to be, you know, doing this. If you look at me in the like looking at the slides and reading them to everybody. They can read them. You know, you can use them again to jog your memory, but please don't read the slides. Don't have your notes on the slides like that one bad example I showed you earlier. Uh, that's very important. And secondly, don't read off the slides. Thirdly, don't read your notes either. So if you have cue cards in your hands and you're using them, you know, don't sit here and go like this and read them. That's not a presentation either. So make sure you can use your cue cards to jog your memory, or if there's a quote you wanted to give and you want to write it out so you don't get it wrong, fine. You can read it then, but for the most part, present your presentation to your audience. Don't speak too softly or mumble. This is the opposite of speak loud enough. Be watchful of verbal tics like ums and ahs and you knows and likes, and you know, be careful of that. It's okay. It's natural for people to use ums and you knows a little bit. Just don't overdo it. That's the key. Try and improve on that. Now we get into the presentation software. So that's all dealing with presenting. Those are the most important aspects of presenting. Know your topic and all the rest. Now we get into the presentation software. So on your software, whether you use Prezi, Google Slides, Keynote, or PowerPoint, always prepare the outline before you start making your slides. A lot of people like to just start making their slides and come up with the 4 events as they're doing it. No, make a scratch list of all your events. Pick the 4 most important, then make 4 or 5 bullet points of what you want to talk about in regards to that point. So that's what's going to make up your slides. So prepare your speech before you make your slides. It should be the last thing you do. Then keep your slides simple. Don't have them be too busy. You know, less is more. People appreciate more. I remember when I gave a presentation in this class for my master's degree, there was a young lady that also gave her presentation, and mine was very informational. It had a lot of stuff on the slides. I had 6 bullet points, 6 points. I had all that going on, pictures, illustrations. She had one picture on her slide. It was her. She was speaking on childhood obesity, and she just put a picture of a kid up the screen. It wasn't even an overweight kid. It was just a kid, but it drew you in, and now you were listening to what she was saying and not reading all the information on the slides. So keeping it simple actually helps in your presentation. Unfortunately for her, though, it didn't give her any notes because she just had the picture. She had to remember what she was going to say. And she didn't have any cue cards, so she had to memorize, you know, or at least remember and roughly what she was going to talk about and do it, you know, extemporaneously. So don't use contrasting colors. So we already looked at that on the world's worst PowerPoint presentation. Use dark background with light text or light background with dark text, but don't use green and blue and red and yellow all mixed together. That could be difficult for people to see. Always use pictures and graphics. I mentioned that. Follow the 6x6 rule. This should be on all of your lists. 6x6 rule. 6 bullet points, 6 words per bullet point, no more than that on your slides. And then your font size shouldn't be smaller than 30, maybe 28, but no smaller than that, or larger. You can okay larger, but don't make them so small that people can't see them from the back of the room. And then make sure you use builds. By the way, you'll be graded on all of these things on your actual presentation. Did you use builds? Did you follow the 6x6 rule? Did you use 30 size font? Did you use a navigation slide? And that's the next one, use a navigation slide. We already talked quite a bit about that. All right, don't use your slides as notes. These are the don'ts. Don't have paragraphs of text. Follow the 6x6 rule. Don't use small fonts. Don't have any typos. Make sure you read through your presentation and you've corrected anything that was not spelled correctly or incomplete sentence, etc. And then the next one, don't have too much going on like we saw, in that one slide where everything was moving, keep it simple in that way too. And then lastly, that's it. That's it. So just don't have too much going on overall. Keep your slides simple. So that's it. That's really what I'm looking for in the presentation. That's really what I'm looking for in the assignment. The do's and don'ts of business presentations. So any questions? Any concerns? Okay, so it's clear that you guys know that this week you're working on your discussion post assignment. You should have already made your initial list of the do's and don'ts. This week you should be looking at what other students' lists look like and kind of, giving some comments to them. And you must do that anyway to get part of your grade. And then next week, go ahead and publish your final list on the discussion post assignment. And you're welcome again to use the list I just gave you. And then as far as your individual presentation, you should have already selected the 4 significant events. You should be working on your slides this week, beginning to build your PowerPoint slides. They don't need to be perfect yet. Just get everything on the slides and, make an outline first and then build your slides. And then next week, begin to practice giving your presentation and recording it by the end of the week. So I'm just going to warn you, if you record it in PowerPoint, it might be a very large file. If you have poor internet connection or a questionable one, or even just the fact that it's large could cause it to not upload very efficiently, sometimes not at all. And I've had students texting me or emailing me at 11 o'clock on Sunday night going, I can't upload my presentation. It says submitting, but it never stops submitting. It's been doing that for 2 hours. It's probably not going to make it. So in that case, you might have to go to YouTube, open an account, a free account, upload your presentation to YouTube, copy the link that it creates, and then post the link in your assignment, and I can still and others can still watch your presentation. Just make sure you mark it as public, because if you mark it as private, then we won't be able to view it and I won't be able to grade it. So that's the only thing if you go to YouTube. But YouTube's actually easier for me because I can open YouTube and grade at the same time, where PowerPoint, it basically takes over my computer until I'm done watching the presentation. I can't grade anything. So, but either one's fine. All right, any questions, any concerns? All right, well, I'm going to